I think people train on Christmas Day to say they trained on Christmas Day.
There's a lot of that.
You know, like 6 months down the line, you know, when they're giving an interview, they're saying, "Oh, these boys are committed," as you said. They were there on Christmas morning. Yeah, but
it's for the optics, and it's for the manager's ego, and it's for all those things. But I don't think, where's the merit in it? Like, what are we getting out of this?
Mickey Hart here. You're listening to the GAA Hour football show.
The GAA Hour with Colin Parkinson is brought to you by Paddy Power, home of the Money Back Special.
I'm not finished yet. It took me a long time to get here.
So this is our last preview show of the year, lads. Conan and Conor are here as usual on a Thursday. We've got one final left. We've got more than one final left. There's some junior matches. The two matches we're focusing on today will be the Leinster final. We have Eire Og manager Joe Murphy coming into studio to us, so looking forward to that. And we have Mullinavat's John Walsh, who are in the final this weekend, taking on Mattock Rangers. Both teams are up against it. They're both 1-5 with Paddy Power. So we'll talk to the two of them during the game. But wanted to start with this one. Did anyone watch the Sunday game show last night, lads?
I was actually watching Man United Spurs, so yeah.
Just washing my hair.
RTE player now later in the week, I think.
The way I was looking at it, the advertisements actually turned me off it rather than made me want to watch it. And I'll tell you why, because it's an RTE. Now, I haven't watched it either. It's an RTE production championing their own show. Now, my thoughts on this are that the Sunday game have had exclusive rights to our national games, which are massively popular in this country, hugely passionate support. I think the Sunday game is popular because of the popularity of Gaelic games and their exclusivity. You can't see highlights anywhere else. So the way I would have sold that show would be 40 years of Gaelic games, and use their show as, you know, to go through the years in chronological order or whatever, with a few of their highlights thrown in. But the Sunday game isn't a big show in town here, lads. The bloody Gaelic games are. And sometimes I think RT can get a little bit kind of sidetracked by how great they are, just because that show, if that show had competition from TG Cahir, from TV3, from any other broadcaster for their exclusivity, the Sunday game wouldn't be flying it like it is.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you have to put this kind of stuff in context. And championing a show that shows exclusive highlights of our national games without calling it the national games, and the Sunday game just being another part of that. Do you get my point? It turned me off it.
Funnily enough, Dee Forbes of RTE was in here in an interview with Dion there last week, and she said that RTE probably don't do a good enough job of championing themselves when she was asked about kind of RTE's current problems. So that kind of maybe she commissioned the making of that documentary afterwards. But
they championed that tie show as well without talking about that. I thought that was terrible this year. No ties. It's all about hard luck stories with children, and it's a bit like the X Factor, where, you know, every child has to have some sort of a hard luck story, and it's all cute and let's cry. Doesn't seem like a tie show to me. Like, what's going on? What happened to sitting down? I had Mannix watching it, zero interest in it, because there was no actual ties being explained or played with.
I hadn't thought about it like that. It was actually the biggest viewing figures for one of the
People
toy shows.
love that out mushy shit. Do you look at who wins the X Factor? The person with the life story and the hard luck and all this, and the music comes on, and I'm surprised they didn't put a soundtrack over these children.
I think
that's coming on in the future.
I think I've come into the wrong show. The Sunday game, it's like Match of the Day. Nobody watches Match of the Day to hear what Danny Murphy or Phil Neville has to say.
Yeah,
you watch it because they have the highlights, and
I agree.
It's traditional, like, you know, it's an institution,
free to air,
because that's where you got it all, like, throughout the years. So that's the biggest draw of the Sunday game. It's good.
Now, I'm not saying the Sunday game didn't have some iconic moments and brilliant moments, and that obviously did. If you're on air for 40 years, you're bound to have some highlights, but that's not the show in town. What they're talking about is the show in town, and that's how it should have been sold. And if it was sold as 40 years of Gaelic games, I'm watching that. I'm not going to watch them blow their own trumpet and, you know, say how great their pundit was and just stop. Anyways, Fixtures Task Force released a report yesterday, and they had 32 recommendations. All look fairly common sense ones. We talked a good bit about this, so we know now at this stage what the two main proposals for restructures are. We know that there's a proposal 3, which is the status quo, which is the huge worry. We know that proposal 1 involves conferences for the provincial championships, and it involves 4 counties moving province, 3 from Leinster and 1 from Ulster. For me, that's an ongoer because that won't receive support. It just won't.
I like that one as well.
Do you like it? But do you think it'll receive support?
No, sorry. I would just go away from like only 3 or 4 counties moving and just make it a bit more of a. There's 32 teams. Let's put them into 4.
Oh, okay.
Like,
but then it's not the provinces.
Because it's called the Ulster Championship anyway, or so
right. You couldn't really do that. Anyways, just stop thinking of things off the top of your head here and sidetracking this. We're talking about these ones. The other one is Proposal 2, which is my proposal. And I was bragging on Twitter about this yesterday. This is flipping the season around. This is playing the provincials in the spring, in February and March, and then moving the National League to the summer, and that's your championship. So they would have done it a little bit differently to me. They're saying that 4 teams from Division 1, 2 teams from Division 2, 1 from 3 and 1 from 4 go into All-Ireland quarterfinals. So that just shuts the 3 and 4 up from saying we can't play for Sam Maguire.
But that's what I don't like about this. So I actually don't mind like the league structure and stuff like that, but I can't get on board with a format where it's better for you to come 4th in Division 2 than it is to come 5th in Division 1. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it should be weighted a lot more towards Division 1.
Yeah, well, it's 4 and 2, no?
Well, it's like if you come 4th in Division 2, then you can go into a qualifier and stuff. But if you come 5th in Division 1, you're out.
Yeah. The 3 and 4 and 2 play off a qualifier against the 2 first ones in Division 3. That would have, mine was done differently than that. And I'd still think that the 14 teams left in 3 and 4 will still kind of feel like, oh, well, this is the real grade B one. I just don't understand why they didn't let 1 and 2 be your tier 1 and 3 and 4 be your tier 2 and just play them. It just makes cleaner. But it's because these 3 and 4 division teams are whinging about not playing for Sam. You'll play for Sam when you get into Division 2. It's very simple. And until you do that, you're not good enough to play for Sam. But anyways, that's what they did. It's very interesting. They're going with 2. So these are the 2 proposals. And within those 2 proposals, they have 2 different options, whether to play multiple windows or a club break in April and May. So we know what the club break in April and May is. I think it's 5 weeks they want now in April and May. Have a break, then play exclusive intercounty and then go back to club. Alternatively, it'll be back to the way it was 10 years ago. Back Brian Cody and Kilkenny was doing it up to 2 or 3 years ago until the April for clubs came in. So this is multiple windows. So there will be 3 or 4 set club weekends within the summer months, and intercounty have to have a break. There's a 10-day rule. County boards enforce it. And to be honest with you, I was kind of the opinion that I didn't want that. I said it's gone too much into sports science at intercounty level. You might have to go back to a club that's a bit, unprofessional, and it's not fair to mix the 2. And it's probably difficult on players. You always hear them talking about focus. I'm only focused on that now. You can't ask about anything else outside of what they're focused on, right? So, it would be difficult for them to go here, then go back to this professional setup, then back. But it is a good way of pulling the reins back on intercounty regimes and pulling it back, giving players more of a life back with their clubs, and the control county managers have over them. That would be thrown away. It would be only 3 or 4 weekends over between April and the end of August. I'm starting to think that's not the worst idea in the world either.
Is it the job of this oversight unit to enforce that? I just, when I saw it, I just thought it was too open for exploitation.
Well, that's the thing. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because another part of the recommendations is a new oversight unit that would see 4 full-time fixtures analysts appointed, 1 in each province, and they would assist counties in planning club fixture programmes. This new oversight unit would have the responsibility for helping to ensure clubs had more access to their county players, that all available dates to play club games with county players were utilised, and would have the power to impose sanctions on counties for breaches of rule. That's brilliant. That's common sense. That's a county manager telling a poor county board chairman who can't put it up to him, well, we're pulling those players. And now he can say, oh, I would pull the players. Oh, look. Oh, you're the greatest. Oh, I'm really sorry, but I can't because these lads are going to fine us. It's perfect. No, it gives county board officials a reason to stand up to county managers. And because let's be honest, a county manager, often an ex-legend, ex-intercounty player, big personalities, you have to be to an intercounty manager. A county board official is no match for them really when it comes. They don't know what they're talking about well enough. They could be bamboozled with reasons. Now they can just say, well, look, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, but I have to run it past this other man that is not afraid. You know what I mean? So that's brilliant. So whatever they do now, this kind of nonsense can't go on. So I don't know, lads. What do you think? The April, a lot of players don't like the April and then no games for 4 months. Players go to America, there's nothing during the summer. The multiple windows will give club players guaranteed dates throughout the summer for games, so they can have no complaints either. I don't know if I'm leaning towards multiple windows again.
From purely a club player's point of view, I like it. Just in terms of the security there, that you know when fixtures are going to be. But just going back to something you said there, it's just the mindset of being a county player in that setup, that you're county, for a couple of weeks, and then you're back to club, and then I'd say that's very difficult to alternate.
I'd imagine it's
between
difficult.
So like that's just it. From a club player's point of view. Like it's about time we got a guarantee of fixtures, and a calendar of fixtures and dates that you could work around. But yeah, I don't know about it from a county point of view. But if the ambition is to solve the plight of the fixtures for the club player, then absolutely I'd be in favour.
Yeah, so they're going on the road with these proposals now. We don't have time to go through them all. So the talk is not going to be done in the next Congress. There'll be a special Congress next May or something to have a look at these. But they're going to go around to the counties and give the clubs a say on them. And it seems to be done above board at the moment until they come down with the final decision that the status quo is is decided. But it's a terrible waste of time if the status quo, I really like to flip the season, lads. It's a great restructure, and it's nothing to do with the fact that it's mine, but it is mine from 2015 on Off the Ball. I'm definitely putting that in there, and I feel bad bragging, lads, but no one gives me credit for these things. This should be.
Do you really feel bad bragging?
This should be called Colin Parkinson's proposal. First mooted by Colin Parkinson Off the Ball in 2015. The advanced mark should be called Wooly's Mark. First mooted by Colin Parkinson on Air Sport, and the date associated.
You should be ashamed of that.
Well, I actually bragged.
Credit for it.
No, I bragged on Twitter about this yesterday. I threw in the advanced mark. That advanced mark is not popular.
Somebody calls it the worst rule of all time.
And there wasn't one positive thing said about the advanced mark. Now, my excuse out of that is, look, lads, they've changed it. They've changed my one.
That's David Hassan's advanced mark.
So there's other ones then. There's some changes to the club structures in that they recommend that Galway Senior Hurling Championship move to the Leinster Munster Championship. That makes perfect sense. Galway and Leinster. And then this is a good one. A maximum of 16 teams should compete in senior and intermediate club championships around the country. A 2-year lead-in period for counties to adjust their competition structure will be in place. There's actually 8 teams out of the 66 senior hurling and football club championships across the 32 counties. 8 championships consist of more than 16 teams. Again, keeping it all uniform. Why do we all have to wait for this county that has 24 teams, for example, to run it off in a dual county? 16 teams, increased club windows. It's definitely, lads, it's a huge, if they were to pick this option too, I'm just going to give this for an example, and they were going to say go multiple windows. Maybe multiple windows isn't possible with that because the league will be during the summer. I think only the April, May, spring option there is. They want the All-Ireland finals played on consecutive weekends, which is a change instead of a 2-week break. That buys you a week, and then finish them in the middle of August. They're freeing up a lot of weekends, lads, compared to 2 years ago, for example. I think John Horan was saying 2 years ago between April and October there was 5 club weekends, and there can be up between 12 and 15 now. Do you know what I mean? It's a massive improvement, lads, and it's a massive improvement to the intercounty championship, and it's given a better balance to clubs. And look, it's not going to be perfect, but Jesus, it's a great improvement.
The only thing I just don't want less inter-county games. I want less time, especially the provinces took bloody 7 weeks to play off, and it's not needed. But the reason I like the league as it is because you get a lot of games from February until April.
Yeah, but both provincials are going to be played on round robin basis now, so you won't have less games.
So as long as you can maintain that, because it still is the blockbuster.
Yeah, in the league championship, you have 7 championship games guaranteed. How good is that? And then the league or the provincials will be played in February and March as a round robin, so you're guaranteed 3 in that. You're not guaranteed more than 10 in the current one. You're guaranteed the 7 league games, and you're only guaranteed 2 championship games. So you're guaranteed more.
The only thing I don't like about the flipping the league and the championship is that to take that many games to get to a quarter final. Do you know what I mean? When you're playing 7 games to get to the quarter-final stage.
You're playing Donegal, you're playing Kerry, you're playing Dublin, you're playing Monaghan. What are you complaining about?
I like a cutthroat element in the championship. Kind of a do or die kind of situation. I know that comes in the quarterfinals eventually. Yeah, I'm nitpicking here.
Don't stand out.
No, you're basically playing Super 8s for 7 games. That's it. You're playing the big blockbuster games. I would have thought a county like Mayo would be this is sensational.
This is on the face, but I'm sure when we get into it, I'll love it. But
we get into it, we'll be seeing another 3 dead rubber games games now coming up.
There won't really, because 4 will go out of Division 1, and then there'll be 2 up for relegation. You're looking at 6 of 8. Should have some.
No.
There shouldn't be dead rubbers in Division 1.
Yeah.
Maybe Division 2. Well, it's 4 in Division 2 and 2 down as well. So there shouldn't be dead rubbers. You'd worry about dead rubbers in Division 4, for example. There would be if there's only 1 going out and there's no relegation out of that. But look, you can't keep everyone happy. They didn't want to get rid of the closed season, or the pre-season competitions, which kind of bothered me a little bit. And the reasoning for it I didn't like. I think again under my proposal there would be no pre-season competitions because there isn't room for them. But under the other proposal and the status quo, they recommend to keep them. And I didn't like this. He said, if the competitions are removed from the calendar, there's every likelihood they will be replaced by a series of unregulated challenge games, which will ultimately have the same impact, but without the associated promotional benefits that can accrue. Yeah, they will be replaced by challenge games, but there's nothing wrong with that, because challenge games are behind closed doors. If a county gets hammered in a challenge game, a manager's neck is not on the block. I'm not saying their neck is on the block with pre-season, but it starts ramping up the pressure already. And some managers want to win the pre-season competition because it's a competition, and it's like, well, it's 1 of 3, so I want to win it. So they're going back training to be ready for this competition. If it's challenge games, they're actually getting fit during the challenge games. The result of the challenge game is irrelevant to everybody involved, and they can experiment way more. Now, every county's not like Dublin that will experiment in the pre-season. Like, there's counties like Westmeath who are bloody delighted they won it last year. They trained for that competition. I think these competitions just send teams back training earlier the year before, and I think that I don't understand that reasoning of trying to keep them.
The challenge games happen anyway. So you have a situation now where you have the pre-season games and the challenge matches. Do you know when most teams don't play the big teams certainly don't play their full squads in the McKenna Cup or O'Byrne Cup. They're playing the challenge matches to get ready for the league. So they're already happening. So just get rid of this big block of like a competition.
January is pre-season training, and if you want to include a few challenge games in your pre-season training, do it. That's no problem. Because colleges and schools, so the Sigerson's going to finish before the 5th Sunday of the year and the Fitzgibbon before the 7th Sunday of the year, and then they're talking about earlier finishes for the post-primary schools, which we talked about last week, about that's gone to under 19 now, so there is a clash there. Underage competitions, they're talking about under 20 football and hurling championships being run as national competitions with no provincials. And look, there's a lot of good stuff in there. I'm not going to go through it all. There's definitely the report is on the GAA website there to download if you want to read it all. I tend to find if we do too much on this kind of stuff on podcasts, I'm not sure if people that interested in it. They'd rather talk about they'd rather talk about the matches. Maybe they'd rather talk about more controversies in Mayo, Conor, because
no, they don't want to
Mayo
talk about
is the gift that keeps giving. Last year we had the whole Carnacon mess with Peter Leahy and all those stuff, and then this year we have the county board mess that we'll get to in a minute, and now we have this big controversy about Bell Mullet player Ryan O'Donoghue, who unbelievably didn't show up at an under-21 North county final, which is a county semi-final then, right?
Yes,
it's a county semi-final, so the North played us out. Even I can figure that one out. And so he didn't show up for this county final. Instead, he went to an injury assessment or a pre-season assessment with the Mayo senior football team. Outrageous. Twitter didn't like this. I read it, I didn't like it. Even though I didn't like it, even though I was like, that's not James Horan's form. James Horan is not that kind of manager. And I was wondering, what more is there to this? I says, Conor, get your connections in Mayo and find out the story behind this.
And I did. No, I got on to Ger Flanagan from the Mayo News, who had a follow-up. So initially the story appeared, there was a screenshot basically of the story in the Western People doing the rounds on Twitter. That's what everybody was talking about. The CPA even actually retweeted it, I'm pretty sure. But then there was a follow-up story in the Mayo News that would have been Tuesday, I'd say, saying that O'Donoghue was injured. The Bell management team were made aware of it. They had no problem with him not attending the game or with him attending the medical assessment from the Mayo team, which I thought would have been the case, because I could never envisage a situation where James Horan would stop somebody from playing in a game for his club just so they could attend some pre-season medical assessment. So turns out that, unlike everything else that's going on with Mayo at the moment, that it was probably much ado about nothing.
This was a storm in a teacup. Let's get to the other controversy as well then, because Mr. O'Leary, your benefactor in America, wants his 150 grand back.
Yeah.
So this is rumbling. This is getting very messy now, and I don't know, like O'Leary, if I was O'Leary, I'd just write off that 150. Like, this has gone very messy. How's he going to get that back? How can they afford to give it to him? He's obviously arguing that the 150,000 was supposed to be spent on the team. He has not got sufficient proof that it was spent on the team, and now he wants it back. And he actually was okay with the 150 grand until, like, the county board, like, there's such dumbasses in Mayo, like, Christ almighty. So last month the foundation pledged 1 million funding towards Mayo GAA over the next 5 years, provided a number of conditions were met. These included proper explanation of how the 150,000 was used, a commitment that sponsorship deals be put through a competitive bid process with independent oversight, and the production of status reports for the Academy and Centre of Excellence. The foundation sought a response by Monday evening, and none was received. And now he's so pissed off now, he's looking for the 150,000 back. What a bloody mess. What a bloody mess. This is the Mayo County Board saying, well, he's not going to tell us what to do. Who does he think he is?
But he's not telling them what to do.
Well,
do
he's
know,
looking for best practice.
That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
That's the way they would look at it, though, is the point I'm making.
We had a conversation before about Galway and the Supermax statement that time. Now, they eventually clarified it a bit more, but there was an element of them, Supermax not being happy with how the money was spent, which is not their it's not their business to, they sponsored the money, and then it's up to the Galway County Board to use it efficiently. All Tim O'Leary here is reasonably asking for how the 150 grand was accounted for, which is a fair question to ask.
So it's very obvious they didn't spend that the way they should have. Now they can't, and that's what they're dragging their heels over.
You would just say.
Yeah. Well, that 150 should have been given to James Horan, not the bloody county board. Tim O'Leary just didn't have the. Maybe he was naive. Like, I mean, let's be honest. Their county board are strapped for cash. That 150 ain't going where you think it is. Give it to James Horan. He'll spend it on the team. He's the one that will put that money to use.
And all the other stuff he's asked for is commitment to a competitive bid process for sponsorship with independent oversight. Completely fair. Status reports on the Mayo Academy as well, which is all. That's not too much to ask. This is not Tim O'Leary dictating to the Mayo County Board, telling them what to do. The only thing I could say in defence of the county board is that they're not allowed to say anything at the moment, because Tom Ryan has told them not to comment publicly to try and facilitate a quicker resolution with all parties. They were meant to have a meeting, I think, earlier on this week, but I don't think it was meant to take place in Croke Park, and Tim O'Leary's representatives couldn't make it. So I don't know, this just rumbles on and on.
And some more bad news for the Mayo County Board is Tim O'Leary was at the Great Debate last week. I met him, and he was there with Joe Brawley. We know Joe Brawley's kind of fondness for anti-Mayo articles.
Well, that's true.
So they found a mutual kind of friendship there, the two of them. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Some rules to the Camogie, some changes to the Camogie rules, I should say, and these are all common sense ones. They're all taken from the men's game, and let's be honest, why were they any different in the first place? The contact one doesn't go far enough for me. So there's 5 or there's 6 new ones. So there's contact, persistent fouling, quick puck out, free from the hand, dropping the hurley, and a hand pass goal, and penalty. Contact is a player may now use minimal contact on an opponent's body side on once they're making a reasonable effort to gain possession. Now, what's that all about? Is either contact or it's not, or is it minimal contact?
What is minimal contact?
So you can't bury someone with a shoulder, or you can bury someone for a shoulder. I don't get it. If you're either going to do it or you're not. They're not shrinking violets. They're well able to be physical. And why put a wishy-washy contact one in there? Because they're not really sure what they're allowed to do.
It's this is the thing that female athletes hate most. It's just because they're not able for it. That's what it reads like. On the face of it, it's a bit sexist. They can do a bit of contact, but not what the men do. You know what I mean? And it's terrible. And every camogie player you've talked to over the last couple of years have just been crying out to have hurling rules. Because they grew up playing hurling, and then suddenly they're put into a different sport. Yeah. And they're not allowed to have contact. Now they're allowed minimal contact. Yeah.
There's another one, persistent fouling, given a tick and then a yellow card, same as the men. Quick puck out, the referee will blow the whistle once only, a signal for a wide or a score, and from that moment the sliotar is back in play. Right, that's the same as the men's as well, from what I can see. A free from the hand, that's an interesting one. A player will now have the option to take a free from their hand if they're fouled inside their own 45 metre line. And it's an indirect free, so it's not like you have. I wouldn't think any of the women could score from that range anyways. Don't call me sexist for saying that, Conan. They'd probably be out of their range. But that's an interesting one. Speed up the game. I wouldn't be completely against it. You know, like even with the men's game, an indirect one, because sometimes it can be a little bit boring. Say Patrick Horgan comes all the way back, and that's within his range, but it slows the game down. If the person could do it that was fouled, it's only the person that was fouled can do it. So you're fouled quickly. A bit like, do you know what it's like? It's like when we, in Gaelic football, we changed it from a free from the ground to out of the hands. It sped up the game an awful lot, and it was really good. So I think that's a really good one. Dropping the hurley. I don't really know much about that. None of us are hurling people. The only thing I know about dropping the hurley is that if you get into a fight, you're supposed to drop your hurley and go and put your jukes up and get into the fight, whereas if you drop your hurley, the other lad doesn't, then you're in big trouble, right? So the honourable hurlers, if there's a row, they'll drop their hurl, and some might even take off their helmet and go at it properly.
The dishonourable ones will hold on.
The dishonourable ones. Now I have to say, I'd be waiting for him to drop first. So I don't know what the women do in those situations. Then the penalty is it's the same as the men's game. So that's a good one. All positive, except for the contact one. Either you're going to do it or not do it, and just give the proper contact. Because I'd be like, what's minimal contact? Am I like, you're coming in, you want to get the ball, there's two of the women running for the ball. Are they not able to whack each other with a shoulder there and contest that ball? Or, you know, if you come in from somebody from the side, can you not hit them square on and knock them to the ground, or is that too much force and now it's a free? So what's the minimal? It's a bizarre one. It's going to be very difficult to referee, and it's going to cause us.
You feel sorry for
it is better than nothing, and that's like I think some referees will let it go, but that will cause problems in itself because some referees will referee it differently.
Yeah, exactly. Right, last before we finish up here, lads, because we want to talk to Joe Murphy next. He's dropping into us here. Michael Fennelly. I didn't realise he had that much on his plate. Wait till you hear this. He's a lecturer in nutrition in LIT. He's currently studying a PhD in leadership and coaching. He's Ballyhale captain. He's Offaly manager. And he's an hour and 20-minute commute. That's probably passing through Portlaoise coming from that side. He's trying to balance the PhD, LIT lecturing, and then you throw family in on top of that as well. And you're like, holy shit, how is this fella doing it? And he says it's a lot at the moment, but it'll iron itself out over the coming weeks. I don't know. If I was, like, you talk about whinging of too much on, like the PhD alone would be enough for me. You know, and we're talking about talking about players not being able to focus between an intercounty game and a club game. He's able to shift his focus pretty well.
And don't they say when you want something done, ask a busy person? So obviously Michael Fennelly is one of those.
Yeah, that's true. Then he was talking. I want to talk to Michael Fennelly actually, because it's great to have him in management, and he's talking sense. You see, you're from Ballyhale Shamrocks, and a great club like that, and you've played under Brian Cody all your life, you're going to talk common sense, or else you're you haven't been listening. Right? So he was asked about the Christmas period with Offaly, and he was like, December for me is a time you do a bit of individual work and you get yourself up to the standards you need to get. Christmas time is a time for rest as well, and when you can spend time with the family. I hear about teams training Christmas Day, training Stephen's Day. I just wonder to myself, what's the point in that? Is there merit in that? For me, definitely the lads will be off over that period. You need them fresh coming in. The league is starting early, it's starting 26th of January. So there's the point I thought was brilliant, and that's why some managers that have lost the run of themselves should turn around and say, what's the point in that? Is there merit in that? So when you're playing championship next summer, will it make one bit of difference that you train on feckin' Christmas morning and ruin the morning for your players? Or when that comes down to the white heat of championship, would players like you more and want to try for you more if you saw it from their side a little bit? Lads, sometimes they lose track of this. And even Derek McGrath did it, who wouldn't be the type of manager you would have thought would have. I just think, Jesus Christ, what's the merit in that? What are you gaining from that? Yeah. And I don't know, I can't really think unless they say, well, it'll determine who's committed and who's not. What about the lads? I'd rather see who's committed and who's not by the times for 400 metre runs. Not the fella who's happy to go Christmas morning, because the fella that goes Christmas morning might be at the very back of the timed runs. So who's more committed? I hate the way they get it twisted like that.
It's like the boy who comes to all the training sessions but he hasn't improved or gotten fitter than anybody who hasn't been there.
And he mightn't drink much, so he never drinks. He's like some committed, and he's just scratching his arse while he's going through the motions and
dragging
training.
your heels. And it is funny, like you can take a few days off. Like you'll get enough work done. I remember before our league season started in Derry one time, we were training at 8 in the morning on a Sunday, but the clocks had gone back, so it was really 7 in the morning. Boys were pissed off, but then they're trying to motivate themselves by going like, oh, you know, like that other team's sleeping now when we're out training. And I was thinking, yeah, but they're going to get up in 5 hours time and go training. And they'll be fresher and happier for it.
Yeah.
Like
and do you ever, at that hour of the morning, you have no energy. Your body's dead. Early morning training sessions, I think. Now, there's teams have done them that are at a higher level. I mean, like Pat Gilroy did it with Dublin, but I think he did this as a psychological test with Dublin. It was, are you a fancy Dan? Do you want to win an All-Ireland? That was psychology with him. It wasn't for the physical benefits of it. When you train in the morning, you don't have enough food in your body. You're just out of bed. You're weak. Yeah. I actually think you are. I just don't get. You never feel that you're ready for it. And maybe it's your attitude that you're, oh God, and psychologically you're not up for it. A whole load of different reasons that you're not getting the optimal benefits of that training session. Do you know?
The only good thing about it that you're over early and then you have the whole day in front of you. Your body of work done. You're like, you know, you can enjoy the day afterwards. But going back to Christmas, I said to you beforehand, I think people train on Christmas Day to say they trained on Christmas Day.
There's a lot of that.
You know, like 6 months down the line, you know, when they're giving an interview, they're saying, oh, these boys are committed, as you said. They were there on Christmas morning. Yeah, but
it's for the optics and it's for the manager's ego and it's for all those things. But I don't think, where's the merit in it? Like, what are we getting out of this?
So is there something, when it comes to championship and you're at half time and you're a bit of bother, is there something where you can get out of it by saying we didn't train on Christmas Day for fuck all, like, you know?
That could be, you could, the psychological thing of that, but if you need that, but you know, if you need that, maybe
I do believe that, like, the harder you work, the harder it is to give up, like, you know. And like, sometimes if it is just a statement like that, training on Christmas Day, I'm not advocating for it, but like sometimes it does. Well, for me anyway, it would work because you think, geez, I have put in all this work.
I think that's the only benefit potentially for it, you know. I think the Pat Gilroy benefit for it, where you might want to weed out some players, you know, or want to see who's up for this. Mick O'Dwyer's like fucking 30 laps he'd do with us the odd night. Well, that was his training, but it had that effect of going, who wants to do this without complaining? And we did it without complaining, maybe until year 4, and we're like, the only chance of doing something different, a bit of strength and conditioning or something. But you get my point. I can see all, like Gerald Nan running them up mountains, making them get sick. That weeds out the men for the boys and who wants to do it. And I do think there's a value in Jim McGuinness running them up the sand dunes. There's a benefit to savagely hard training. But is there a benefit to training on Christmas morning?
You don't need that.
You know, I would like to say that in the championship we didn't run up those sand dunes for nothing, or we didn't run up that hill for nothing. That's as good as your Christmas morning. Better
when you did nothing.
When you did not, you know, you might have had a half-hour's training session, and it's just messed up the lad's day or whatever. Do you get me?
We're not doing a podcast on Christmas days.
You could actually talk about this all day, couldn't you? Must get a couple of managers in that have done that and have an argument with them. Right, we'll talk to Joe Murphy next. Joe Murphy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Colin.
So you're preparing for a Leinster club final against Dublin opposition. So this is nothing to you at all, right?
Well, you're going back a long number of years, but we've been there before,
So now I want to talk about that first, because we'll talk about the game and we'll obviously talk about Eire Og's improvement leading into it. But I want to talk about the 90s, because we've been touching on it here on the show, and I've been telling the lads that we'd be at home in our house in Portlaoise listening to the radio, cheering Eire Og on. It was the Bobby Miller connection and all those things. You had the whole country behind you then. Like, you won 5 Leinsters in 7 years. Like, it was an incredible achievement.
Yeah, it was a bit of a fairy tale, I guess, for a Carlow team to be sort of in the higher echelons of club football at the time. And we got really goodwill from, like you say, Laois and surrounding counties, and actually into Dublin and everything. There was Christy Walsh was he was CK. He would be the Morning Ireland of Carlow local radio at the time, and that used to branch out a bit, and he was loved in Dublin. They used to call him the Elder Lemon. He would have been a bit of a Gay Byrne character and that, and he just promoted it big time, and that's where it got a lot of its traction as well. But it was a fairy tale. It was a Carlow team. It was unusual.
Yeah. So but I was looking at this, and in the 80s, Eire Og won 6 titles out of the 10 on offer. So you were dominating Carlow football then. Then you won it in 89. Didn't win it in 90 or 91. Then in 92, this unbelievable generation started. What changed in 92?
Well, you hit on it there, was the introduction of Bobby Miller. They knew in Eire Og that there was talent there was good talent, and they felt that they had to maybe look outside the club, which is something that they never did before. And Bobby Miller took a lot of persuasion. He was after training a tie to win a Kildare championship maybe the year or two before, and he wasn't really interested. He was doing Leinster. I think he went with the All-Stars at the time as well to New York, and he was involved in that, and he wasn't really that interested, and he took a lot of persuading, and he came in and look at, I mean, it was just a quick fix.
That changed it, so
everything fell into place, like, yeah.
And was there a new bunch of players coming in 92? No. It was the same players,
yeah,
pretty
they were
much.
a year or two older.
Right.
You know, I guess the average age maybe in 92 would have been maybe about 23, 24 years of age.
Right.
So sort of 1991, you were talking about early 20s, and lads didn't really know what it took to achieve, I suppose. Very casual about our approach and everything like that. But like I said, when Bobby came in, and we gathered momentum along the way, and I mean, just the floodgates opened then at that stage.
Yeah. So it was 92, you won the Leinster, and then you got to the All-Ireland final against O'Donovan Rossa, and that's probably the one you'll remember most as the one that got away. Would that be fair in all the years you were winning?
We never won an All-Ireland, so they all got away.
Yeah.
That was probably
this went to a replay.
It went through a replay, and we were 2 points down on the stroke of full time, and we scored a goal. And the O'Donovan Rossa crowd were in on the sideline ready to invade the field. This was down Limerick. You know, there was the bones of 35,000, 40,000 at it.
It's unreal crowds back then, wasn't there?
They had to, actually that day, they had to open the gates to let the crowds in, so it would meet the TV time, right. and that, because they were going to have to delay it otherwise. So, you know, thousands got in for nothing.
Right.
But yeah, it was on the stroke of full time. Ball came in, ended up in the back of the net. Joy for a second, and then
you're saying blow the bloody thing up?
No, well, the referee disallowed the goal.
Oh, he disallowed the goal?
He disallowed the goal from the 45 metre line.
Right.
You know,
that was in the replay.
Yeah,
right.
And he made the decision, not the umpires, and there was a little bit of uproar at the time, and no one knew what was happening. But no, it disallowed, and on the kick out we blew the final whistle. That was to win in All Ireland by a point.
Which, the last kick of the game.
Yeah, and even running it back to the original game on St. Patrick's Day, Mick McCarthy, Lord of Mercy on him, who's since passed away, Cork footballer O'Donovan Rossa, kicked a pint into injury time to bring it to a replay. So
yeah,
our name just wasn't on that cup.
That was after Garvin Weir being bundled out over the sideline as well.
And Garvin actually ended up in hospital, like he was concussed. Your man it was just a full frontal challenge.
Yeah,
and he was knocked out, and Bob picked off his broken body's chest, and they got the equaliser off it. Yeah,
I was looking at this yesterday and I nearly fell off my chair reading this. Willie Quinlan didn't play that year because he had transferred to Grey Cullen.
Yeah.
How the hell did you allow this to happen, or how did this happen?
Well, Willie has sort of, he's married into a Grey Cullen family, the Lacey's, and look, I mean, you can see it appeared that Eire Og was going nowhere. You know, we were beaten by Rathvilly in 90 and 91, so it wasn't sort of great things on the horizon or anything like that. But I know Willie regrets it to this day, missing out on that day, and he would have probably been the difference.
Oh, he would have been I'd say he definitely would have been the difference. And you continued on in Leinster, and the other All-Ireland final you got to was Lone Rangers in 96 from the 95 championship, and a weird final score there, like 4-5 to 11 points, so like you outscored them, but
we were hit really early with goals. And the best way I could really in the modern time to compare to would be maybe Castlebar Mitchells and Ballyboden a few years ago in the All-Ireland, when everyone thought Castlebar Mitchell's time had come. They had been knocking on the door. They were bet by a great Vincent's team with Diarmuid Connolly unplayable the year before, I think it was, and Ballyboden had struggled. I think Clonmel Commercial could have bet them in All-Ireland.
Portlaoise should have beaten them too.
Portlaoise, I think Niall Callahan missed Paul Callahan missed a free towards the end of that game, and and we were sort of like that. We're nearly going up and getting what we deserved. We felt that it was our All-Ireland and everything, and we just came out casual. I think we allowed radio on the bus and everything going up. We were just so unprofessional going up to that game, and we got hit with 3 early goals, and we just couldn't pull it back over the course of the remainder of the game.
And how would you be going up to an All-Ireland final in that kind of, were you trying to kind of have a relaxed mood on the bus? Do you know, in hindsight, at the time, was there a reason behind going up like that?
I it probably was wrong from start to finish. The whole build up to it, there was a delay on gear coming and all this crack, and there was a row over jerseys, Connolly jerseys or O'Neill's jerseys, and yeah, we just took our eye off the ball. We felt maybe that all we had to do was show up. We were strongly fancied, given the previous years and who we had beaten and that. And we just didn't show up for 20 minutes, and it cost us an All-Ireland. So that was probably more regretful than O'Donovan Rossa, because I think we really played well and we expressed ourselves in the previous All-Ireland, but no, in 96 we just came up flat, and then when we got on top we just ran out of time, couldn't get the goals, which we were sort of renowned for getting.
Right, okay.
But the Lone Rangers were there, they were a good side.
They had a good team.
I mean, when you think about it, we're Carlow lads, and they had a platter of Kerry footballers, inter-county players through the spine of their team and that. And
but that's the level you were at the time, though. Like, I mean, you're going in as favourites against them. Like, I mean, when you look back on it, it was incredible times.
Mad,
mad. Come here. I just turned that headphone around. I'm only after noticing it there.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go, because that'll be noticed. I'll continue on here. For a Carlow team. So then we get into 1997, and you win the 96 championship in Carlow, and then you get hammered by Knockmore, and everybody's writing Eire Og off. Then you go into the Carlow championship of 97, and you lose in Carlow, it was all Lion Beachy. So this is the end of Eire Og, pretty much, because Knockmore gave you a good beating in Mullingar.
They did, yeah. That was all the one calendar year as the semi-finals.
So it's hard to follow all the dates here.
Yeah. But that was, there was 12 or 13 of us playing for Carlow at the time. Like, I mean, it was week on, week off, it was constant.
Yeah.
You're going from club to county to a Burren Cup to league, back to club, into the championship. There's an All-Ireland B championship in that era as well that Carlow won with, I think, 13 Eire Og. 13 Eire Og lads finished the game against Westmeath. I think 11 started it. So I think we're just wrecked at that stage.
Okay.
But we're all, the backbone of the team was sort of hitting the 30s now at that stage as well. So yeah, it looked like it was over. And enter another Leishman then.
Pat Critchley came in and managed you. And another Leishman, Leo Turley, transferred to you. I had completely forgotten about that. Like, I mean, there's more kind of stuff in this whole, you could do a full show on this. How did Leo end up moving to you?
Leo, through his work, was transferred to Carlow, and it was a little bit of an issue there. He lived in Great Cullen, and there's a part of Great Cullen that Carlow claim, and there's another part that Laois claim, and they call it the triangle. And we had to prove with ordering surveys, maps and everything like that Leo was actually living in the Carlow triangle of Great Cullen.
So there was objections to this transfer then, obviously.
Yeah.
Who, Great
initially.
Cullen?
Well, I don't know whether it was Laois or Great Cullen. I'm very fond of the Great Cullen lads, so I'm not going to I'm not going to blacken their name. But no, there was a little bit of an issue. But Leo wanted to play. We knew Leo. I knew Leo from playing inter-county. He was in school in Knockbeg. We played against him and Mick, his brother, all the way through our school days and that. So Leo was keen to play with Eire Og, and it happened, and he was a great addition at the time. Yeah,
definitely. Pat Critchley's on record as saying, he said in the beginning a lot of them thought the All-Ireland was over for them, having gone out early last year, and it took a while for me to persuade them that it was still there, and he made you his captain, so I presume you all also had to persuade the fellas that it's not gone.
Yeah, well, there's another little side issue there as well. There was an issue with the Carlow County team, that there was a row between the county board and the supporters club, and the players sort of went on strike. There was a reallocation of the league at the time, and we had to play Mayo up in Castlebar, and I don't know whether it was a coincidence or not, and that wouldn't have been a great game to go up to, but the players didn't travel because Bobby Miller was county manager at the time, and he withdrew, and I sort of withdrew as well, and a few players withdrew, so I sort of went back to the club. And I got myself and Pat on fierce well, so I ended up captain that year, and we drove it from within, and Pat was just a breath of fresh air. You know him. I mean, he's so casual, so easygoing, and that's really what we needed at the time. We didn't need anyone coming in and
shouting and roaring,
and, you know, we had the experience in that. We just had to get our bodies right and get over that Knockmore
So
defeat.
that was a bit, nearly like Brian Clough taking over Leeds. He started shouting and roaring and put your medals away. You didn't need that at that time.
No.
Pat Critchley was perfect.
Yeah, absolutely perfect.
He wasn't going. And then in '98, unbelievably, you came back and you won a trilogy against Kilmacud Crokes in the Leinster final. 3 games, 10,000 in Newbridge at these replays.
Yeah.
Just incredible stuff. You said after we beat them, you said in your captain's speech, you got your All-Ireland and we desperately want ours. That was kind of your attitude.
Yeah, but Crossmaglen were the next one up, and that wasn't straightforward. You know? But look at, I mean, we just probably didn't have enough, and we got that Leinster. We brought in a few young lads. One of the guys on our management team now, Brian Carberry, is a very talented footballer. He was 18 playing. Young Bernard Hennessy, Adrian Cochran. We brought these in.
This was in '98. And Pat got a bit of criticism for bringing in too many players.
Yeah,
did
he brought in 4 or 5 just a little bit more enthusiasm, a bit of freshness in that. And a few of the established lads became impact substitutes at the time and that. And it worked well through Leinster, but we probably just weren't strong enough to go the full way, like, you know. And Crossmaglen were strong at the time.
They were coming. I think that was their second of 3 in a row to beat you in the semi-final.
And even actually that day, you probably know Muckle Keaton woke up that morning with, and he was our most potent forward, and he woke up with chest infection, fever that morning. We had to take him off after I think 20 minutes, and that he wasn't, you know, there was not left in him, and we were bet by 4 points. And we only could bring on Colm Hayden that day as well, who was another prolific
Leo Turley got a goal that day, didn't he?
Yeah. So we probably needed everyone on their best form, and we couldn't afford to lose a couple of established players like that. And Crossmaglen were just a little bit more. They were stronger than that day.
There's no doubt it was an incredible time to have. Pretty much the Carlow team was the Eire Og team. You were dominating Leinster, and then you have the whole thing of just not being able to, nearly the Mayo kind of thing, where the whole country's rooting you on to get over the line, and you're not. It has that kind of tragedy thrown in there as well. So, like, I mean, it's incredible. They'll never. I don't know, will they be seen again? Really, like you're hoping they will be. Obviously, you're in a Leinster final.
Yeah. Look at. I mean, history has a way of repeating itself. To what end you don't know, but. Look at it. It was great to be a part of that. It's actually as good to be a part of what's happening in Eire Og at the moment.
Do you lean on it much with the fellas? Like, I mean, I'm sure before you played Portlaoise, like, I mean, Portlaoise have tradition, and I always say with playing with Portlaoise, the tradition means a lot because it gives you confidence. Like, I mean, you have to lean on that stuff because players know we're their match. You know, we have been, and you know, there's no reason why we're not now. Yeah,
internally, that's important to us in Eire Og. That you know, it's a fine line. You don't want to be shoving the pass down any new players' throats, right? And you don't want them sort of getting bitter about, oh, we're always hearing about that. You want them to be a part of it and to work off, like you said, that tradition and feed off it and that. And we've been here before as a club. And that's the message we're trying to get across to our players at the moment, that, you know, it's not to be afraid of. You know, you thrive on it and embrace it and embrace the past, you know, and the tradition that's in your gene pool now, you know, and that's what we're trying. Whether that's going to be enough is another day's work, but I mean, it gives a nice balance to the past and the present. And that's important to me that gets across.
It's true, and there's a great link then as well. Jordan Morrissey is Jodie's young fella, right? Then you have Derek Hayden's father was Joe. You have Niall Quinlan, who you brought on. Was it against Portlaoise? Against Portlaoise at half-time for the freeze, which was a great move on your part. You have Darragh O'Brien, Turlock was around with your squads as well. I think it's Jody Morrissey. I marked him in the challenge game. I don't know if you remember.
That was in the old pitch.
In the old pitch,
And you started playing to the crowd that day. I think I was marking you.
I don't know. Were we marking each other?
I think so, yeah.
But I was on Jody for a while that day, and I remember thinking, what, that lad is a flyer. He won't stop. And I just remember thinking in my head, I'm a good bit off that now. You know what I mean? He was a seasoned, you know, club player and an inter-county player, and it felt like a man versus a boy. He just didn't stop running.
And really, there was not a minute. Like, he wasn't a big bulky guy.
No.
But it was just pure natural. And I mean, again, keeping the Laois connection that we're here. I mean, like, his grandfather was Tommy the Boy Wonder Murphy. Like, I mean, he was on the Millennium team of the team of the Millennium. Yeah. And you know, Jody was just something else. Like, I mean, he was different gravy. He was just telling. I remember when we played O'Donovan Ross in '92, and he was marking Tony Davis, who was in his pomp with Cork. They were winning All Irelands at the time and getting All Ireland finals. And he just said afterwards that he doesn't recall marking anything like Jody Morrissey before. Just doesn't stop.
He made an impression on me that night. You know what I mean? As regards just not stop running. And I was playing so shite that night. I would mark the 3 or 4 of you had said that. Just trying to find somewhere I could get into the game. But it was a challenge match. I think he gave us a good beating. Was that the late 90s? Was it? I think
it probably was. It would have been around the turn of the
turn
century.
of that. Yeah, in and around that. So like, I mean, you took over. Your son is on the panel as well. That's another connection.
Brendan Hayden's son Dean is on the panel as well.
Okay, too. So there's loads of a connection there. It's fantastic when you see that, because I was told recently by Aaron Kernan with Cross McGlen, Ushie McConville and the McEntee sons now are under 16. So they're on the way up. It's lovely.
And even looking at it when you're involved in the club, and you like, I mean, I'd follow it. I look at it. I love it. And you see these names that from your own time, or just previously or something, and there's a connection there, and it's unique to clubs, like
it is,
and it's the community that we're brought up in and we spend so much time in, and have that sort of, like I said, that gene pool continuing. It's incredible, and it's a incredible connection, like you said, between the 90s and
it definitely is. So you came in 2017, and your brief was to win a county title, because you hadn't won one since 2012, right? So that's a huge drought for Eire Og, like it would be in in Portlaoise, big traditional clubs like that. And you won your first one after replay, and you've won 3 in a row since, right? So I suppose, what did you identify with them, or what did they need?
I look at. I mean, I could completely wrong, and I don't want to be insulting, especially any of my squad here, and I wouldn't. But I just felt that there wasn't a connect with the club. That in this day and age, there's so much going on, and it's very easy to get a jersey anywhere, be it soccer, basketball, football, whatever. And I just felt that we needed a more of a connect between the club and the players, and that was something that we tried to really install, that where we come from and the history of the club and the connect that we were after going through and everything like that, and really get them
that they
privileged
care more
and honoured to wear the jersey, and it's probably old fashioned, it's old school in a way, the pride of the parish and all that, but they lapped it up, and we had gone through maybe a little period of outside managers who maybe their brief is just win, but to me it wasn't that, really genuinely wasn't that. It was just to establish a good foundation, because they are good players and we knew they were good players, and they need that attachment, and they needed that sort of more of a professional attitude, and to take their football, one of the priorities of their life, and that, and it was a bit of a slower burn than Bobby Miller had, but as players led now, we just sort of facilitate them, and I'm not trying to talk like Jim Gavin or anything like that.
I'll let you off with that one.
Genuine,
no, it's true, but you let them take the ownership of it, and that's important, really. And like, I mean, having that, identifying them with their club and having them care about their club, that's really important too, because you can just go up and lose sight of that. And like, well, I don't play for Portlaoise anymore, but Portlaoise have left their old grounds. Now they're in Rat League. I don't see much of an identity. It would be very easy, unless you're reminded of it, just go up there, train without kind of knowing this. I'd see the old Portlaoise club as Portlaoise, whereas this one's a bit like where you go up to train. You
have to re-establish your roots now. And that doesn't start with the generation that are playing senior football at the moment. That has to drip down right through all the underage, that this is where we are now, and this is your jersey, and this is your town, and this is what you represent. And look, I mean, when we got it right at senior level, I mean, the place is, Eire Og's on fire at the moment, right through all the underage groups and everything. All the senior players are having an ambassadors to all the juvenile teams. Everyone is involved. Everyone has, like I said, that ambassador role.
Right. And so taking over the odd session when they can. And stuff.
It's the connect between a 7-year-old and a 27-year-old. And it's unique to clubs. And if you get it right, and I think we're on the right road to getting it right in Eire Og, no matter what happens Sunday. It's been such a positive year.
Did you start that in year 1 in 17, getting that ambassador role going?
Look, it's not me. There's a number of great people in Eire Og that have that foresight.
Danny Duke did tell me, he's a mutual friend of ours. You obviously train Greg Cullen. He says they have great people involved in the right positions in Eire Og. Said it's a well-run club.
And that's important. And look at no different than Portlaoise. We had our financial worries through the bust and everything like that with acquirement of land, and we built a new gym and everything, so we were under pressure that way. So sometimes that can take over the playing aspect of things, you know, and through great work by our executive and trustees and everything, they're on top of that, and everything is sort of you know, working hand in hand in Eire Og, and it wasn't really that way before, and maybe we struggled a little bit on and off the field because of that. But now the players are just so supportive of the social aspect of Eire Og, and the club itself is so supportive of the football fraternity that you know, it's like I said, it's a great place to be at the moment.
No, it sounds fantastic. Like I have to admit, you didn't win me over until Portlaoise. I was still like, I was making excuses. Well, they were hammered last year, and then against Castletown, you know, they started well, and then they let them back into it, and Wexford aren't great. And then I was saying, well, Ben McCormick wasn't around for Sarsfields, and it took the Portlaoise performance for me to go, yeah, no, well, they're actually they're pretty good there. Yeah. How did the Mullinavat game happen last year? Like, it's a massive improvement in this year, or was that just a freak game?
We were better this year. We've grown into it more. A couple of lads are a couple of years or a year older. The players, like I said, have taken ownership. They're away from training. Collective training session work has been phenomenal. They pride themselves on that. They're so dedicated.
That's important. Now, just to cut you off, because Sean Gannon was talking about this week. I think he was at a media day last week. He said it's 6 days a week we're training now, 3 days collectively, and then you're going to the gym 3 times, which has been unheard of. It wasn't going on, so we've bulked up and lads are bigger. And I do think that's where a lot of club teams around the country are behind Dublin clubs. Dublin clubs are doing that, and they've been doing it since I joined Parnell's, or potentially before that. And I never saw Portlaoise lads having done that. You know, like, I do think that maybe teams outside of Dublin, when it comes to strength and conditioning, aren't on Dublin teams' level.
Yeah, look, one of our mantras, and it's not just this year or the previous years, and it's hard sometimes to get it to stick, was that you got to be doing something. To play at the top level, you got to be doing something every day. You know, whether it's a recovery session, whether it's your gym sessions, whether if you need a bit of cardio yourself away from the group and that. And you know, that's been embraced, and you can see the difference. With Mullinavat last year, we were pushed around. They were a good, big physical team. Slow pitch, tight pitch in Longford suited them. And again, look at, what happened. We lost our discipline. We lost our control around the field and that, and they punished us and paid the price. But Mullinavat weren't a bad team. Yeah,
you know, no, they obviously won it in the end. They're a very good team. So Ballyboden up next. You see, I don't really want to talk too much about Ballyboden because you're not going to say too much about it. What can you say? But like, they've been very impressive, and we talked on their last 15 minutes in every game. They've been destroying teams. So it's back to their conditioning, and they're a powerful team. They press you high up the field. They want to get the ball back, and you do that too. But that's one thing, is their physicality and their way to grind teams down. And it's their last 6 games. They have won the last 15 minutes by something outrageous, like 7-30 to 8 points. Do you know, they're blowing teams away late on.
Yeah. I look at they're a top team. Even their record this year, I think they're unbeaten. Right through the league and the championship, obviously in Dublin. So look, it's going to be a huge challenge. We also know that if we bring our A game, if we bring our best game, that we're not bad either. But you don't know. You don't know how the matchups will measure up. You don't know. Have a freaky day. You don't know. It could be even a refereeing decision, even though there's a top referee doing a game. So these are out of your hands. You can only control the controllables, and that's something that's out of our hands. But we'll be going over. We're prepared. We're ready. We're keen. Like I said, the place is buzzing. We've a lot of goodwill going over there from within the county, all clubs. So we'll carry that with us. But like I said, it's going to take our best.
Yeah.
And see if we get us.
3 of your 5 Leinster titles were against Dublin opposition, and a selection of them, Kilmacud, Erin's Isle, and
St Sylvester's.
St Sylvester's, yeah, you beat them. I think it was 5 points.
Ballyboden as well in the semi-final, and another one.
Right, okay. And then I think Hanrahan's beat Na Fianna then another year. It's not like, it's not impossible. Dublin clubs have improved a lot from then, with everyone moving to the capital. There's way more transfers. You've no transfers, actually. It's like Portlaoise years ago. You'd always have a prison officer or something. You don't have any at all now. It is more difficult, but I don't think Ballyboden have too many of them now. Look, it'll be a great game in Portlaoise as well.
Yeah, hopefully so. Look, I mean, they're obviously two good sides. They're as it stands, and I think we've earned the right to say that we're one of the top two sides in. We didn't get any soft draw. We didn't get any buy through any rounds or anything like that. So we're there on merit, and obviously Ballyboden as Dublin champions would be there as well. So look, I mean, I just hope it's a good game. Genuinely, I hope both teams play their best, and and not being cliched now or anything like that. But then the best team will win. I really hope that we show up. And all the signs are that we will. And if Ballyboden are good enough, then they're good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Joe, thanks very much for calling in, and best of luck on Sunday. Okay, so Paddy Power predictions. We spoke to Joe Murphy there. Eire Og are 4-1 outsiders, and Ballyboden are 1-5. So like I was saying to Joe there's some scary stats on Ballyboden in the last 15 minutes of their games. I actually have the stat here now. They got 1-5 in the last 15 minutes, 1-5 to 1 point against Skerry's Harps. Sorry about this, Conan. Where were you? 2-1 to no score against Nafina in the last 15 minutes of extra time. That makes yours look a bit better. 1-3 to a point against St. Jude's in the last 15 minutes. 5 points to 3 against Thomas Davis in the last 15 minutes. 1-6 to no score against Newtown Blues. And that might look, that was a hammering. That they were in trouble in that at half time. That a man sent off, and it was very close. 2-1 to 3 points against Gary Castle. In total, 7-21 to 8 points. I won't take credit of this. It was Dublin Match Tracker Twitter account sent me that, and I thought it was very interesting, and it goes along with what we'd been saying with Ballyboden, Conan, about how well conditioned they are, and how physically impressive they are, and that's obviously a product of them destroying teams in the last 50 minutes. So how Eire Og can protect themselves against that, I suppose, is the big question.
Incredible. It's like it nearly reminds me of the Australian international rules team. You always knew they were going to come good in the third quarter. like back in the day, they were just far better conditioned than the Ireland team. The only thing I'll say is that Eire Og, obviously looking at them against Portlaoise, they're well set up. They're big themselves.
Yeah, they're conditioned themselves. Yeah. Maybe not at Ballyboden's level yet, but definitely getting there. Like Sean Gannon was talking last week, I was mentioning to Joe about how much they're doing. And Joe's attitude is that if you're not doing 6 days a week at club level, you're probably fooling yourself. And it's got to that as well. I don't mean 6 training sessions that you have to be to. Do it on your own time, but you have to be tipping away on your own.
Yeah, and I think they might conserve a bit of energy the way they play in that sort of little shell that they have in defence. But the only thing I'd worry about them is running at Ballyboden, because that's what Ballyboden don't mind, and that's basically what they want you to do, because they're stronger and fitter. So depends what sort of game plan they bring to it. But I think looking at them against Portlaoise, they might be able to last the pace a bit longer than some of these other teams. Yeah,
I think Sean Gannon was saying that they needed to bulk up after they were beaten. I think it was Mullinavat that beat them last year in the Leinster semi-final, and they thought they were bullied. So since then there's been a real kind of appetite amongst the squad to do that little bit extra, and they said 3 days a week, I think, collective training, and then they end up doing 3 sessions a week individually on their own and stuff like that too. So whether they're at Ballyboden's level, I don't know yet. When the Desi Dolan they were saying that they, the Ballyboden lads have proper meeting them after playing them against Gary Castle, so they're probably not at that level yet, but we'll see at the weekend, I suppose. Yeah,
we'll definitely see. So who are we going to go to? We're going to go for here. It's hard to look past Ballyboden lads, if we're being honest. They're they look like they're a machine. They've come through a much harder championship. They're very strong favourite, in Dublin. I mean, arguably, Eire Og have come through a more difficult Leinster championship, but it's hard to look past. But I can't look past Ballyboden on this one.
Yeah, I think they're just getting better as well, though. Just look at the way they came back against Newtown Blues and then just cast Gary Castle aside. So maybe the more games is helping them just sort of get up to the pace of it. I can't see past them either.
Yeah, if Eire Og, I don't know, you'd like to say, if Eire Og can stay in it, that kind of tradition, and you can't throw that away. That's there, and that's going to give them confidence. But Portlaoise had tradition and confidence against Ballyboden. And that, well, it got within, you know, a missed free at the end. Like I think Eire Og can make a game of it. I don't know if Ballyboden have necessarily been blowing, like they've only won one Leinster in their history. They struggled over Portlaoise that day. Like Eire Og won't be hammered.
No, they don't concede a lot. Do you know, like it'll probably come down to the last 10 minutes. I can't see Ballyboden putting up a 1-5 like they did against you guys, or 2-1 that they did in extra time against the Fianna either. But I find myself questioning the odds. Like I don't want to say anything about Paddy Power here, but that they always seem to be very long. Do you know, like Eire Og are 4-1. I don't see why they need to be 4. You know, to me they're. You know, I can't see them winning, but I can see them getting within 3 or 4 points easily. So
the handicap I think is 5. I was looking at it. I definitely fancy Eire Og plus 5 points.
Seems a bit long, but I go with Ballyboden by a few points as well. Yeah,
okay, we're all agreed on that. The other big football game of the weekend is Mattock Rangers. I was very surprised to see Mattock Rangers be an intermediate team, if I'm being honest. This is the intermediate championship. Mattock Rangers were in a senior Leinster final in the 2000s. They won 4 or 5 loud championships. In my head, Mattock Rangers were one of the big hitters, and they've obviously lost their way, found themselves in intermediate. They play Mullinavat, who are the surprise packages, who beat the Dublin champions. Who was it again? Ballybuckle, and beat Rosenellis from Laois as well. I spoke to Mullinavat wing-back John Walsh yesterday, and I started off by asking him, was it actually Walsh or was it Welsh?
Sean Welsh, yeah.
Welsh, yeah, okay. So Leinster football final, must be a bit of a surprise for you.
Yeah, I suppose it is a bit of a surprise, but at the same time, we thought we'd do well this year, and we got a lot of lads back, and we thought after the county championship, we thought we had a good year. It was a good tough year in the championship this year, so we thought maybe we could get 1 or 2 victories on the line. But this is, I suppose, it is bonus territory at the moment anyway for Leinster final.
Yeah, so you played your county final in Kilkenny on the 21st of July. You drew that, and then you played a replay. Was it 3 weeks later?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we drew the first. Didn't play as well as we'd hoped, I suppose. But then the second day we hit form anyway. Thank God.
Yeah, so that's 3 in a row you've won now in Kilkenny.
Yeah, 3 in a row. Yeah. If you can do the same to hurling now, it'd be great job.
Yeah, well, like I was told, someone told me, yeah, well, they play the football off during the summer, so it doesn't get in the way of the hurling when Kilkenny hurlers are out of the championship. It doesn't get in the way of the hurling championship.
It's probably better off too, because hurling is obviously the main focus in Kilkenny.
Yeah.
Football takes a back seat or whatever, but it's probably better off running in the summer. It's probably a better championship too, because the hard ground, and they're not slogging away in a bog in the middle of November trying to get finished into championship.
Yeah, so
it's probably better off getting that way in the summer.
Yeah, and so how many dual fellas do you have? Like you're obviously one of 12 senior hurling teams. Mullinavat are in Kilkenny. So how many play both?
Everyone plays both. Our Nordic counterpart, Shane Kelly, our own man. He hasn't up the hurl yet now, but he's our only footballer now. Right,
and you haven't forced him into playing hurling. I can't believe you've let a Tyrone man get away with this. How long is he down there?
He's there. He's with us the last 2 years now. But he might as well be swinging a tennis racket as a hurler.
And come here, is he bringing the kind of northern defensive style into your football?
Oh yeah, he has all the cuts and everything in him. Yeah, he has all the tricks and every one of them now. But he's brought, in fairness to him, he's bringing a lot to the whole thing now. The ability to kick the ball with right and left is a big help, because it brings on other lads around him and stuff. So he has the kind of the natural play, I suppose, more than the learning curve was.
Yeah, no, I suppose, sure, that's probably a great help. But how did you fill the space? Because you obviously, like I said, you won the replay on the 11th of August. Then you're out in the hurling championship, and you drew with Greg Ballycallan and beat them after a replay, and you did really well to draw then with O'Loughlin Gales was it the quarter final, and lost the replay in that. And then you weren't or the quarter final, and then you weren't out until the 9th of November to play the Dublin champions, Ballybuckle. How did you fill that space in between?
Well, we were kind of disappointed with the hurling, I suppose, especially after the first day against the Loughlin's. We thought we probably should have got a result there, more so than the draw. But we took the week off or whatever, but we got the focus down. Then we got Aidan O'Brien in from Roster to train us, and he's been a great help, I have to say. Now he's been involved with Horace Wood and like for senior footballers in the last couple
Yeah.
of years, and he's a really, really, really big help now. He would have been involved with about 15 or 20 of us in Cook County College, so he knew what he was bringing to the table. So he's been a huge help now. Just, I suppose, more tactically and organisational wise, he's been a great help now.
Yeah. And how do you all feel about the football, John? Like, I mean, I know hurling is the big thing, but like, would there be a love there for it? I know a lot of you went to Goods Council, which would be a big football in school. Like, you know, I know it doesn't compare to the hurling, but like, I mean, at the same time, would you get a lot of enjoyment out of the run, or like, would it be, how important would it be to you?
Oh, look, obviously hurling is our first love, and it always will be. But down our way, we love football. It's like, I know it's easy to love when you're winning, I suppose, but at the same time, we like, it's a release from hurling. You know, when you're slogging away hurling for 8 or 9 months of the year, for 10, 12 years or whatever, it gets a little bit repetitive. So the football is a bit of a release, you know, to go back and have a bit of fun. And then obviously when it gets serious, it gets serious. But it's a nice release now.
Yeah.
I have to say, I thoroughly enjoy it now, I must say.
Right, okay. And like, I mean, you're kind of proving the point that some hurling snobs say that any hurler can turn around and play football.
If you look at Michael Malone, it might be a bit different than one of our players now.
So, like, I mean, this is the thing. You play Mattock Rangers at the weekend. Like, you were massive underdogs against the Dublin champions. You were underdogs then against Rosenallis, and I've played against them. They're a good, solid intermediate team, and you beat them well. So, like, I mean, you're rank outsiders against Mattock Rangers. They're 1-5 winners, and you have to travel away as well. How did that work out?
Look, we had 2 home games. Well, they were in Kilkenny games for the first 2 games. But look, we've no doubt this is a big ask against Mattock Rangers. Now they're senior champions 2010, so it's only 9 years ago. They said a lot of lads sold and on since then. But at the same time, like we're going up with the opinion that sure we can win. It's 50-50. It's a 2-horse race, and we're hoping to get over the line if we can.
Yeah, exactly. And come here, you were on the Kilkenny hurling team or hurling panel there for a couple of years. I don't think you were this year.
No, I gave 2 long winters in there as all now.
Just early in the year you were there. You're a forward. You're a forward with the hurlers, right? You're a wing back with the footballers.
Yeah, I got an early release, so I didn't get time for a retirement speech. I got an early release.
Because I was talking to your PRO, John Power, and I says, is John still on the Kilkenny hurling panel? He says, oh God, you'll have to ask him that now. I wouldn't answer that. So I was thinking there's something controversial happened here with Brian Cody.
No. Just missing our eyes against Wexford in the Welsh Cup didn't help either enough from a free. So.
You did not, did you?
I did, yeah. But look, that's long gone now. Look, I probably wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough from Kenny at the time, so I'm playing me throughout the footballers now for a while.
Right, okay. And how do you all, like, when you finish the hurling and you've been involved with the small ball for the whole year and your eye is in for it and everybody talks about that, when you take a week off and then you're back playing football, it must take you a while. Like, you're lucky the Leinster Championship wasn't right on top of you then, and maybe that break to get loads of football into you actually did you, an awful lot of good rather than sitting idle.
Yeah, I thought, well, as you said yourself, Conan, any good hurler can play football as well, I suppose. A lot of lads can't play. I know it's not the same, but a lot of lads will play soccer. So soccer down here as well, so they have some idea of kicking balls and stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously it's going. The first day against Ballyvockle, we drove a lot of wides and a lot of stupid ball, kicked us a lot of stupid ball away, but. Then we had an extra 2 weeks training. That was a big benefit of having an extra 2 weeks training for the Rosenallis game then, and it seemed to all kind of click into play the last day. And hopefully now that with the next extra 2 weeks training that we've had with Aidan and a few more of them, that can bring us on even further again. Yeah,
exactly. Come here, before I let you go, why do you think football can't take off in Kilkenny? Like, I mean, see, because when I was younger, we would have always played soccer, and soccer's so big in Kilkenny, so it's not like you're allergic to a big ball and you only like a small ball. Like, soccer is so popular. Why is Gaelic football, why have people no interest in it?
Well, look, I don't think it has the inability to take off at all. There's plenty of lads that like playing football in Kilkenny, and the hurling is not their first love, but at the same time, it's just not given the same time of day as hurling. It's not as sexy as hurling, I suppose, in Kilkenny. A couple of us would have played with Kilkenny footballers the last couple of years, and it's more of a people are looking at it more of a chore than an honour, I suppose.
Right.
But at the same time, the lads that give out about football in Kilkenny are the same lads that never played with Kilkenny, and like it didn't represent Kilkenny or put on the jersey. Like in Kilkenny, if you get a chance to put on a Kilkenny jersey, whatever grade or whatever code it is, like you take it. You don't want to turn your nose up at it. And I think that needs to be kind of instilled in younger lads as well. I know the be all and end all is made the Kilkenny senior hurling final, but that's only the case for 30 people a year, like out of a couple of hundred. Like there's other options there and there's other loves there. If you want to go about it, you go about it that kind of way. The county board will give it as much backing as they can, in fairness. But like you can, it all comes down to you can't teach interest, I suppose. If you can get that, you can try, but if you can get that interest, there's no reason why you can't take off. I can't understand it anyway.
Well, that's it. And then even DJ Carey, who's played football back when he was playing, he was over the underage teams. Was it the under-20s or I think it was the under-20s or the minors, and did well. Yeah. And now he's been taken by Brian Cody. So that kind of big name that was there, that's kind of gone now.
Yeah, I suppose. But like, there's still like the foundations were laid there by DJ. In fairness, he took over in the 14, 15, 16 all the way to minor, and they did reasonably well in minor last year. And like that's me. That's like every county. That's kind of a starting step. You have to start somewhere. And thanks to DJ, obviously, and then a few more of them, they took it with two hands, and they gave it their best. They gave it their best shot, and hopefully, if you continue on with other grades as well now. But they probably do need, I suppose, another big name to go in there and lend a hand as well.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
Colin Parkinson, someone maybe.
You couldn't afford me, John. So I'm a known mercenary. So like, I mean, you'll have to look elsewhere. Come here, listen, John. Thanks very much for taking the call. Best of luck at the weekend. We'll be keeping our eye out for the result.
No bother. Thanks, Colin.
All right, great stuff from John. There, we'll be back on Monday. That's it for today from us. We'll be back on Monday and we'll review the finals. We'll talk to you then. Good luck.